Jesus Christ. I grew up in a big Maori family, and all my influences growing up was drugs and alcohol. You know, right from a young age, I saw my parents, my older brothers just drinking and partying and fighting all the time. And you know, when I got older, right from a young age, I started to take drugs. I started to drink alcohol. By the time I was 16 years old, I was hooked on drugs. I was hooked on alcohol. I wasn't just taking, smoking weed. I was putting all kinds of different chemicals, all kinds of different drugs into my body. I was snorting drugs, popping pills and that. Such as the size of my family that, you know, in the area where I grew up in South Auckland, my family were running drug houses. We were standing over people, standing over other drug houses. You know, such as the size of my family that, you know, when people messed with our family, we had, you know, we would just go around, do house calls on people, stand people over. I've got family that are affiliates on both sides of the colour scheme. And so growing up, you know, I come from a good family. My dad was a good man, hard worker, but he was an alcoholic as well. He drank all the time, and so I drank alcohol every day. I took drugs every day. My statement in life was to be high and stay high all day, every day. And you know, I got to an age where I met my girlfriend. We started to have children, and you know, we got married along the way, and there came to a point in my life where, because I was drinking every day, taking drugs every day, that she wanted to leave me. And at that point in my life, I couldn't have cared less. I had a real typical Once Were Warriors upbringing. All day, every day I drank, and you know, if my wife would have left me, it wouldn't have bothered me. And you know, I had got to such a point in my life, because I was driving home every day after work, drinking, high on drugs and high on alcohol, and you know, flying home in my company car, drifting roundabouts, doing all kinds of crazy things. I had got to such a crazy point in my life that, you know, my wife was going to leave me, and I just couldn't have cared less if she did. Right at that crazy point in my life, she finds a flyer and she goes out to a movie and she gives her life to Jesus Christ. And I was at that point where she had just come to the end of the road and says, man, I'm sick of what you're doing. I'm sick of your drugs and your alcohol and the way that you are. I'm going to go to church and I'm going to give church a try. I never grew up in church. I have no background of going to church. I didn't know nothing about Jesus Christ. But when my wife started to go to church, I saw her start to change. And there was just something in her life that I just couldn't put my finger on. And I came home drunk and stoned one night. And she looked at me and she says, man, what's wrong with you? And I says, look at me. I'm drunk and I'm stoned. And normally I feel good, but I don't feel good. And she's just sitting there with my children reading the Bible, and she says, well, you need to go to church. And I says, man, what do you mean I need to go to church? This is all I know. This is all I've ever seen all my life is drugs and alcohol and partying and fighting and gangbanging and people getting beaten up. That's all I've ever seen growing up. And I thought that's all my life was ever going to be. And she says, man, you just need to go to church. And so that night I went to bed disappointed, and I remember lying in my bed, and I remember looking up into the ceiling in the night when my family's asleep, and I cried out to God, and I says, God, if you are real, then set me free from drugs and alcohol. I don't know any different. All I've ever seen all my life is drugs and alcohol and violence. I know no other life. This is the life I've always lived. And I cried out to God, and a few months later, I went out to church. I gave my life to Jesus Christ. 14 years ago. God has restored my marriage. God has restored my children. They used to say, Dad, I haven't seen you for this many nights. Where have you been? Because I just did what I wanted to do. How many of you that are sitting here tonight, you can relate to that? Preach it. And I just did what I wanted to do, but I want to tell you, man, God set me free from drugs. Set me free from addiction. I didn't have to attend Alcohol Anonymous. I didn't have to go to no drug rehab. No, I gave my life to Jesus Christ. I said, God, you set me free from drugs and alcohol. And I want to tell you, God broke the bondage of drugs and alcohol and addiction. And I want to tell you tonight, if you're here God can set you free.
Amen.
God can restore your marriage. You got a broken marriage. God can restore that. God can give you your children back. Give your life to Jesus Christ.
Amen.